everybody, and welcome to another episode of Michael in the Backyard. What are we going to be playing with today? The continuation of the saga of the 05 Road Glide. This is the one that had the seized engine. If you haven't seen the first couple episodes, I encourage you to go back and check out the first few episodes because there is some crazy stuff that went on in order to get to the point where I'm at today. Some of that involved making a special piston removal tool to get them pistons out of the cylinders. And we're getting ready to look at those cylinders again today in more depth and more detail and finally come up with a conclusion, or not a conclusion, I should say, a path in which we're going to take to get this bike back on the road. And it's going to start in my solvent tank. Let's jump in right now. You hear some droning going on in the background. I apologize. My windmill is windmilling. The wind decided to pick up in the last half hour when I decided to come out and do some video. So it is what it is. So what have I purchased? This is called a Flex ball hone. It is. I'll show you the brand I got. Let me get it here. Hold on. This is a Flex hone brand made in the USA. I'll leave a link in the description below in case you wanted to look up what they have. Surface finishing, cross hole deburring, edge blending in any type or size of cylinder. Well, this particular one's not for any type or size. This is for 3 3/4. I'm just now reading the instructions. It says use 10 to 30 weight or flex hone oil except when honing hydraulic brake cylinders. When honing hydraulic brake cylinders, use hydraulic brake fluid as a honing lubricant. Have the flex hone tool rotating upon entry and removal from the cylinder. Recommended RPM for flex hone is 500 to 800 RPM. Do not use any air tools or high-speed motors. Use 60 to 120 strokes per minute depending on RPM. Final stroking may accelerate to develop a 45-degree hatch angle. Honing time should be approximately 20 to 45 seconds per cylinder. Do not use solvents for honing or cleaning. Cleaning cylinders after honing with warm or hot water and detergents using a brush and then oil the cylinders. Okay, in this application, I'm not using the flex hone to actually hone the cylinders to any size. I'm just trying to knock a little bit of the ugly out of the cylinders, but I will heed their warning and put a little bit of oil in there. No, I'm not going to do that. All right, let's jump in. Now I've got this cylinder just sitting precariously over the top of the solvent tank. There again, this solvent's got a lot of oil and garbage in it. Now I'm not looking to ruin this cylinder by any stretch of the imagination. So I got this ball hone here. I don't know how much pressure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hold it. That's all I wanted to do to it. That's just enough to knock the ugly off of it. It doesn't even remove the staining, but it'll let me identify some stuff in the bore. That's all I was after on these things. As you can see, this one here has a little more ugly in it, so I might have to stroke that one just a little bit more. That's okay. Just gonna wet it down. Whoopsie daisy do. Well, that did precisely what I wanted it to do. It took all the rust spots and there's just the ugliness off of it. So now I'm going to go ahead and rinse this off with my solvent tank. And I'm just basically preparing this to ship off to possibly get board oversized. That's all I'm after here with this process. Plus, I'll be able to hopefully show you close up some of the damage that's going on inside this thing. We'll get it underneath the bright light. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this type of hone. It's a flex hone. I've heard them called dingle ball hones. They're just little balls that are braces on a flexible stem on a twisted wire arbor. And this one here is 220 grit. So they're, again, very fine grit. Something that's really not going to take any material out of the cylinder. It's for knocking the glaze off. So if you had a bore that was good and you wanted to put fresh rings in it, you can go in here and knock it up and down there, put your rings in it, run your break-in cycle like you normally would on new rings, and you're off to the races. This here, I'm using it for knocking the ugly off so I can get a better look at what's going on inside these cylinder walls. I'm going to stick this back in the box for safekeeping. Now this is going to be tough for you to see, but what I want you to look at is let's see if I can get the light on it just right. Maybe I can. But right in this area here, see those dark spots there? That's actually pitting. That's some pretty good pitting that happened in that area. As you can see here, you can kind of see some traces where the piston rings stopped here. But there's no wear in these cylinders whatsoever. There's no ring ridge here. There's nothing of the sorts going on there. This was the worst of the two cylinders. This one here has some, let's just call it more or less staining with a little bit of pitting action going on. As you can see on the bottom side here, it kind of ran down the cylinder, did a little something in there. It's not much. And this is what I've learned so far. The place I'm planning on sending these cylinders to is a performance shop. Now, they specialize in Harley Davidson and Harley Davidson performance and stuff like that. That's primarily what their website's all about. They're in Idaho. I've done some research, trying to find a place that could actually take care of these cylinders for me. Now, one of the things I'm in right now is in a unique situation. When I mean by unique, I'm not trying to make a performance bike out of this. Even if this is a bike I was going to keep or came onto and I got it for a good price, and all I had to do was put a little bit of effort in it, get the cylinders, bored out and put it back together. I don't need the engine to be any bigger than it is. It's an 88 cubic inch engine. Most of the kits that you find out there will go from 88 to a 98 for this particular year, from up to, I think it's, I want to say 99 to 2006 for the 88 cubic inch twin cams, that you can go up to a 20 or a 98 inch motor. So you put a big bore kit on it. I don't want anything to do with a big bore kit. I want to bring it back to stock. That's all I'm after. Most of the stuff that's out there for these bikes that I've been able to locate is primarily focused on big bore kits. But this place that I'm dealing with or working with, I've gone back and forth with a few emails trying to hammer out what I'm going to be doing with this particular engine. And they can go back in the day when I've done stuff in the past between old dirt bikes, old motorcycles, and cars and stuff like that. There was always a 10, 20, 30 over, and 10 thousandths, 20 thousandths, 30 thousandths oversized option. Apparently, for these particular engines, there is a 5 thousandths over option, and a 10 thousandths over option, and a 20 thou over option. 30 is not an option that I've seen so far. Even this guy that I've been communicating with has been telling me, if you have a source for 30 over, let me know. I'd also ask him about some KB pistons, I guess they're called. I found some that were a 20 over KB piston because the place I'm planning on sending this to does not have in stock currently 10 and 20 over pistons, but they will by March 31st. By the time you see this video, that's only a few weeks out, so we're not having to wait terribly long. Harley Davidson had cylinders and piston kits back ordered and not even know if they're going to get them by June. That's much too late for this project. So now what we're planning on doing is discovering, can I go 10 thou over? Can I go 20 over on this particular engine because of some of the pitting that's taken place? The guy I've been speaking with or communicating with sent me a quote on what it's going to take to do this, which is pretty cool of him to do. He gave me a price of what it is to bore it out to the piston sizes that he's going to have in stock. and all that kind of fun stuff. So what you do with this particular company, I'm going to take that quote, you put it in the box, you ship everything to them, they open it up, here's the quote, here's what we're doing. It's pretty clean. I don't know what you want to call it. Kind of cut and dry as what we're going to do here. He's going to see if 10 over will clean it up. If that won't clean it up, he'll go 20 over. And the reason he might be doing this in this manner, which I appreciate, is that eventually in the future, if 10 thou over cleans this particular cylinders up, it has the opportunity to go 20 over in the future. Say somewhere down the road, they finally want to rebuild this engine top end again. They got the option to go 20 over. And instead of going 20 over right out of the gate, no other options. Me personally, I'm planning on sending this bike down the road. 20 over option is fine. This engine will still run 50, 60, 70, 100,000 miles before these cylinders would give them give any trouble, typically with regular maintenance and doing what you're supposed to do with these bikes, and not letting what happened to this one happen, which we still will be a mystery forever. So what have I got? I'm not going to be apologetic for doing a lot of jibber jabbering on this. I want to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing and for the reasons I'm doing it. And some of you might be going, just go do a big bore kit. Well, big bore kit price isn't the problem for big bore kit. I'm not concerned about the price. Now, just to give you an idea, if we can take this 10 to 20 over, it's only going to cost me with shipping about $500 for piston, rings, the bore job, shipping to and from the supplier. What a big bore kit would entail is about $250 more, roughly, to go big bore for getting the pistons. A big bore kit bored out to 88 or 98 cubic inch. Get the big bore, get some more torque, some more horsepower. But it also requires, after you do that, more tuning. Now this has stock exhaust, stock intake. It is 1,000% stock. Well, if you want to actually get your performance out of this 98 cubic inch motor, you would want to put better flowing exhaust, better flowing intake, and then you want to put a tune on the computer chip that would allow you to take advantage of the 98 cubic inches, the 10 more cubic inches, because you're going to basically make a better air compressor out of this engine, and it's going to run stronger for you. I'm not interested in that. I want the stock engine. I had an 80 cubic inch Evo motor that I drove for 14 years. Put a power commander on it. It had a light cam in it. Nothing major. It had plenty of horsepower. It towed trailer. I did many thousands of miles of riding on it. No problem. Stock is fine. I'll let somebody else have the fun of big boring this if they want. There again, I'm trying to keep it economical. I think this bike needs to be back on the road. I've had it run through my mind. Maybe I should just part this thing out and get as much money out of it as I can parting it out. That just doesn't seem as fun as putting it back on the road to me. So what do I have? Well, I went online and I bought a bore gauge kit. This will go from, I think, 2 inch up to 6 inch, I think, in total. I don't know if any of you have ever used a bore gauge kit. I have used one in the past, a long time ago. I'm going to show you what I'm doing to check this thing out. I'll be able to inspect these cylinders. I'll be able to put hopefully the little point of this thing down in one of the little crevices that has the crater in it, and see if the needle moves too much. So just to give you an idea, when you got a diameter and you're going to go 10 thou over, that's only 5 thou that you're moving these walls out per side, 5 thou. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with measurements, a sheet of average notebook paper is about 3 thou thick. Hair on your head, typical average hair on the head is 3/1000 thick. So we're talking, 2/3 of another piece of hair worth of movement. That's not a lot for them to bore out and hone, because my understanding is they will bore this out. I believe it's 3 thou undersized of the piston, the rings, for the 10 over. So if you're going 10 over, you're going to bore 7/1000 out of this hole and then hone the last 3 to get your pattern, your roundness, and all the finish desired finish you're trying to get in this bore that will help your rings break in and seal. So with that being said, let me see if we can get this bore gauge set up. I'm going to learn along with you. Be patient. Maybe you'll learn something by watching me struggle. Maybe you won't. Maybe you're just laughing. That's fine. I'm good with that. All right. I'm going to get you guys up on a tripod so I can get you over here in my little bit of a workspace I've got here, because I got lots of projects going on out here. And where did I put my tripod? It's in the back of my Jeep. All right, when it comes to bore gauges, there are basically 3 essential parts. You've got your gauge that slips into the top here, and it just slides in, and you can preload it a little bit like that. We're not quite there yet, but we got to get the right extensions on here to be able to check a 3 3/4 inch bore. Now this says 3.6, this says 3.8, this says number 11 is a 4 inch. So this says number 10. Is there a number on here? No, why would they put a number on it? Put the ring on, snug that down by hand. And what it has is a plunger right here. So let me rotate this dial around so you can see. This little plunger right here, if I push on it, will move that needle. And every little tick on this little deal here, indicator, or the dial, is 1/1000th of an inch. So now, when you see that thing move 3 ticks, that's the thickness of a hair on your head. Now we'll bring one of these cylinders over here. I'm gonna see if it actually fits. Does not. It's the next size smaller. So 3.8, that must be the biggest it'll go. So the 3.6 must be the guy I need here. All right, liking my odds here. So then, as you can see here, I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing here. This goes against the wall. These 2 little things here help stabilize you, help keep you kind of centered, and helps you guide things through. So you can just see how that's indicating stuff right there. It's letting me know things. So if I was to go from, say, here, and I can rotate this dial, I'm trying to find, let's just say the smallest spot would be like right there, and I'm going to get right down on the dial so I can see. So for instance, I'll lock that down. That's coming in at 0. If I go all the way down in the bore and rock it, and I see that at the very bottom, that's 0. What am I got going on here? Hang on. So that's 0 right there. And I come up here, and there's about just a hair over 1/1000th worth of wear in this cylinder wall that way. And then you can check it for roundness. Now we haven't checked it for size here yet. I'm just looking at it for roundness and stuff. So there, that's the same. That's less than a few tenths of 1/1000th out around. So that's good. Now if we wanted to check bore size, I'll show you how we do that. Now in order to set proper size, you would have to have a micrometer. You could use a caliper, but if you want to do it right and do it accurate, you're going to have a micrometer. So we're going to set this at 3 inch 750. So right there, 750 on the money. That's 3 3/4 inches. Then you're going to come here and you're going to put this. This is where it gets a little complicated with just having the one hand here, but I could take the same button here. There we go. And whoops, let me get it. Let's see if I can wiggling this back and forth. Come on. Trying to center it up, and I'm wiggling it back and forth to try to find my low spot. And just out of curiosity, see where that 0. So right there is 0. So what that's telling me is when I set that 0 down at the bottom of the bore here on this side, that 0 was actually 3 3/4 of an inch on the money. So if I come back in here and do this number and come back to 0, where did I hit that at? Yeah. So right there. So right there, that's saying that that's... So as I'm coming around this way, now I don't have this indicator loaded very heavily. Now what you can do is you can load this indicator, and what I mean by loading is I can put some more tension on here, pushing this down a little further. Just I'll show you what I mean here. Slide this back out. This has got a lot of travel. This has got a 1/2 inch of travel in it total. So I can actually put more pressure on this needle. Let's just come on back around. We'll go around at least one full revolution just so I can get a good preload on that needle. And then lock it down. Now I'm locking it down so the needle is straight up and down here. Then I can bring this back to 0. Just like that. I can double check it again just like I did before. I ain't kidding you, this is more difficult than I thought it would be to hold on to, but once I get my bracing right, get myself supported right, it'll be easy. There we go. So right there is about 2 thou off. So if I had somebody else here, I'd have them adjust that dial while I held it. So I'm getting that button loaded. And I'm trying to find that small spot. Then I can lock this down right there so this doesn't move on me by accident. I'm gonna double check it one more time just to see what I got for 0 here. And these little indicators here, if you have them on there, they'll slide out of your way. They're designed if you wanted to check like a plus or minus 2, you can make sure that for a quick check in the bore, that needle was in between these two, and it's like, oh, that's in spec. Oh, windmill's just a windmilling away. Okay, I'm happy. When that comes up to 0, because this only has just a little bit of travel, but we've got a whole 100 thou. You can see by the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that little dial. I got 100 thousandths worth of preload on here, so there's plenty of spring pressure here. So now if I come back in here and check this, and if it came up to 0, that would mean it's 3 3/4. Anything that stays shy means it's big. So as you can see here, that bore right now from the factory here, about 1 thou under. It's about 1 thou under and about 1/2 thousandths out of round. So it's 1 to 1.5. We're coming up to the top side. Now typically, if I was getting crazy on checking a bore, I'd check it, you know, like crisscross, back and forth, in several directions, just to see the roundness, find the biggest spot and the smallest spot, and then I go halfway through the bore and down to the bottom of the bore to get a full, let's say, call it a picture of the shape of the cylinder, whether it's, you know, out of round or it is round but tapered top to bottom. So right now we're looking pretty good. So this, to take a 10 thou out of here, to go 10 thou oversized, there's plenty of meat there. Now this one here does not have any scars or any big craters in it. Now this bad boy has some craters in it. And what I want to do is see if I can get this little guy here, this point. It's a round spherical shape here. You guys see that? You see what I'm talking about there? I'm going to try to get that into that crater. Let's see here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Grand freaking Canyon. That darkest spot there is right there. Try to get this so you guys can see and see what kind of measurement I get. Now I'm going to move it up and down there. See right there, you can see that when it's in that crater, out of the crater, I'm about 1 thou under, same as I got on the other bore. But as soon as I drop it down in that crater, you can see it. See that needle? And I'm rocking it back and forth trying to find that tightest spot. That crater is about 7 thousandths deep. And so that tells you right there that 14 thousandths is what it would take. because it'd be double that was what it would take to clean this bore up. So the good news is it feels like and acts like and smells like that a 20 over piston will do the job. Just looking for some other. There's another spot right there. I felt that tip fall into it. I rock back and forth. I'm about 7 thousandths undersized. When I say undersized, what that's doing is that crater's letting this fall into the hole, which is not depressing the plunger as much, which means it is bigger. And, well, I shouldn't say undersized, oversized. It's actually bigger. So that's why I wanted to get this bore gauge, because I didn't want to waste my money sending out a pair of cylinders that may not clean up. Just looking for some other craters here that I can check. And these are things that would be hard to inspect and or look at without the bore gauge. Now that one worries me. See there? What happened? Really? See now that one there? I'm in a crater. Wow. Because if I come up here and do it, see I come back up to 0. But my bore gauge is like, that's 9 thousandths. That's what I was hoping not to find. That's a big pit right there. I know it's hard to see. You won't be able to see it here. But inside that bore, that's what I was afraid I was going to find. There's a big black pit right there with some corrosion. Just ate this thing's lunch. Right there. Yeah, see, I can't even get it to come up and load up the... I'll come up a little bit. Just come up a ½ inch. Load that dial up, no problem. Right there. Yeah, there's no way a 20 over is going to clean this up. This cylinder's fine. My best bet is to find another used cylinder off eBay or something, and then send both of those out to get bored oversized. The nice thing is there's a part number here, this 16593-99. If I get that same casting number, I can get the same cylinder. I think that's my only option. But this was like 47, 50 bucks. That just paid for itself right there. Because if I'd have sent this in paid shipping, and it's not going to be cheap, shipping is very expensive these days, it would have cost me, I'm guessing 30 to 40 bucks, maybe 50 bucks to ship this to Idaho in the box that I've got to put it in. And that's got plenty of protection to keep things from getting damaged. And then they would have had to ship it back to me, which they'd have charged me. So you could have had 100 bucks in shipping wrapped up in this thing just to discover that this one is fine and this one is not. And then you got to do that all over again. So the money spent on this was money well spent. It's actually going to save me money in the long run. Sad to say, folks. So that's how I use the bore gauge. And obviously, I've got a couple other engine projects I'm going to be working on that's going to involve the bore gauge and ball hone action and stuff like that. So because I bought another ball hone, just to give you guys a clue, because you guys, there it is. I pulled the head off of this. I'm going to go ahead and clue you in a little bit. And I appreciate you watching. Those that watch this far will know more than the people that signed off 5 minutes ago. This came out of a 1955 Dodge C3 pickup. It's a flathead 6, 230 cubic inch, 3 1/4 inch bore, 4-inch something stroke. I pulled the head off it the other day, primarily because I was ordering ball hone, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if the ball hone for this Harley and the ball hone for this engine would be the same, because this here has a little bit of a lip at the top that I can feel, but it's not incredibly large. And I want to be able to use this bore mic, a bore gauge, to check the bore on that, and a ball hone to clean it up a little bit, but to see if I've got to bore this thing oversized, new pistons, new rings, or if the bore was within spec, put it back together with a fresh set of rings, and let's run it. So anyway, more to come on that in the future. We'll be tearing that down, doing further inspections. I'm not an engine builder. I've rebuilt a couple of engines in my day, and but I'm very competent when it comes to measuring things, make sure things are in spec and round. I've been machinist / toolmaker my whole adult life. So when it comes to machining and measuring, I've got that in spades. So, and just like I just showed you here, I've never used the bore gauge like this one before, but it's very simple to set up, very intuitive in my opinion. And we're going to keep looking for a new cylinder. So that's unfortunate. That's so unfortunate. But at least now I know, and I've hopefully educated you guys on some of the things that you can, some pitfalls you could run into when you're dealing with an old engine or an engine that's stuck or something that may happen. Now, if I had my own machine shop personally and I did engine boring like this for a living, I would be very tempted. This is probably not right, and you guys can scold me if you want, but I think it would be very easy to bore this out 20 over. 30 over, it would clean up. No question in my mind, 30 over would clean up. But 30 over, the place I was dealing with does not have any 30 over pistons. Don't know when, and if they do, let's just go back and say this. What I need to do is just have them bore at 30 over and just wait on the pistons from them, because they don't know when they're going to get them. They didn't know when they'd have them in stock, but at this point, to be able to use the stock cylinders, and when you do a 30 over, you don't have to do any modifications to your bike. It's not even going to know it's got those few extra fractions of a cubic inch going 30 over. Not enough to make a difference. So what I'm going to do is email the guy back, tell him I put a bore gauge in there. I found pits that were 9 thousandths deep minimum, that I don't feel that a 20 thou oversize will clean it up and do what it needs to do. And I might just send them anyway, have them bore them to what the 30 over would be, and this wait on the 30 over pistons and stay in contact with them. So when I get the 30 over pistons, I can have them ship them to me, and then be off to the races. I did look up, they did have 30 over pistons, I think KB pistons, but he told me on the phone, he goes, I don't recommend KB pistons. I think they were KB brand. He goes, we call them kabooms for a reason. I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. There again, I'm not in the motorcycle engine building world. I take these guys as gospel, because I know enough to not get BS'd, but I also know when to listen, and when those guys have a story to tell and it's from experience, then I listen. You know the difference between a wise man and a smart man? Smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from others' mistakes. I like to try to be a wise man whenever possible. All right, folks, I appreciate you following me along on the saga of the 2005 Road Glide seized engine. We're going to get this thing on the road. It's just going to take time, and you're going to see gaps between videos just for that very reason. I've got other projects I'm working on, and this is just some of the pitfalls you run into. Pitfalls, pun intended. This is Michael saying, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. We'll see you on the next video. Be kind to one another, and by golly, this weather better just keep getting better so I can get some fishing in soon, because I'm about to lose my mind. Take care. I'm out. Alrighty, folks. It's a few hours later. Went and grabbed lunch with the boss. Did some research on eBay. I did find a pair of cylinders that are used, obviously, but not used up. They looked like pretty clean on the bores, according to the pictures. They had the right casting numbers you see here, which is a 16593-99. So those castings match for an 88 cubic inch engine. So I'm happy to find those with shipping. A pair of them was $152, I believe it was. But that's giving me something I can use versus something I can't use. I'll still be under the cost when it's all said and done of a big bore kit without spending the $1,200 of other stuff to make a big bore kit work. So I'm happy about that. When they get here, it said about March 14th is when they were supposed to arrive here. And when I get them, I'll package them and ship them out to Idaho and wait. And hopefully by the end of March, March 14th. Yeah, by the end of March is when the pistons will be back in stock, according to them. And then I will get my cylinders back and we can start putting this beast back together. So stay tuned for part 5. Hopefully in another, probably going to be 3, 4, 5 weeks at this point. But don't fear. I've got other stuff I'll be bringing along to fill in those weeks. I appreciate y'all watching. Thought I owed you that little follow-up. We'll go from there.